sales counselors are one of the reasons we get higher customer satisfaction ratings than any other specialty home electronics and appliance chain.
I want you to think back to the last time you walked into a Circuit City. The red sign out front with the little lightning bolt plug, the wall of televisions all playing the same demo loop, some guy in a red shirt walking over to ask you if you need help finding anything. For about 20 years, that store was literally everywhere. Maybe not literally, but you get, there were 600 plus locations across 45 states, there were 60,000 employees, and they had $12.5 billion a year in sales. Circuit City wasn't some scrappy underdog. It was the company that basically invented the electronic superstore. It literally got written up in the book Good to Great as an example of a company that did everything right. And here's the strange part. You can still picture the inside of that store, and the company is completely, totally gone. Not struggling, not bought out, gone. It vanished in a single weekend in 2009. And I'm not telling you this as an outsider who read about it. I worked at Circuit City in the warehouse in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina from 2001 to 2006. So part of what's coming, I didn't research. I watched it happen in real time. So here's the question for this video. How does a company that big, the company that literally wrote the playbook everybody else copied, disappear completely? Because the real answer isn't a recession, it isn't Amazon, it's one decision. And it's a decision I think every single person watching this can learn something from, whether you run a company or you've never run anything in your life. So let's get into it. Let me show you how this story ends, because the ending is kind of the whole point. By the spring of 2008, Circuit City was bleeding so badly that Blockbuster, yeah, that Blockbuster, tried to buy it. Around $1 billion to bolt the two of them together into one giant chain that would sell you the gadget and rent you the movie to play it on. Blockbuster spent the summer digging through Circuit City's books and then walked away. Sit with that for a second. Two companies that were both at the exact moment quietly going broke, and the big idea was to merge them into one super company that could go broke together. And don't worry, Blockbuster gets its own episode. We'll get there. Okay, so with no buyer in November of 2008, Circuit City filed for bankruptcy. They tried to reorganize, they tried to keep some stores open, they find anyone to help them, but nobody came. And in January of 2009, the whole thing flipped to liquidation. And by March 8th, 2009, the last 567 Circuit City stores in America closed for good. About 34,000 people lost their jobs, including numerous good friends of mine. Now, here's why I wanted to walk you through this one. I've built multiple businesses over the years, and the way I did that, honestly, the single biggest thing was by obsessively studying the most successful business owners in history. This one I happen to know from both sides, the research and the warehouse. But you don't only learn from the winners. Some of the most useful stories in business are the failures, and Circuit City is one of the most useful failures there is because it didn't die from bad luck. It killed itself on purpose with a plan. And if you know where to look, you can watch it happen in slow motion. So to understand how it ended, you have to understand how it got built. And it starts with a guy who had no business being in the business at all. In 1949, a man named Samuel Wurtzel was on vacation getting a haircut when the barber mentioned that a television station was about to start broadcasting in Richmond, Virginia. Now, Samuel was 42 years old. He didn't have a background in electronics or a background in retail. But when he heard that, a TV station in a town with almost no TVs in it yet, and he understood what it meant. There was a station, people are going to want televisions to watch it on. So he moved to Richmond and opened a store that sold TVs. He called the company Wards, and by most tellings, it was an acronym built from the names of his family. One store, then a few. Through the 50s and 60s, it grew into a chain selling TVs and appliances and even running licensed electronics departments inside other retailers. And in 1961, the company went public. And I want you to notice what he actually did, because this is the first thing that built the company. Samuel Wurtzel didn't invent the TV. He didn't invent the store. He just saw a wave forming before everybody else did, and he got in front of it. That's move number one. Find the wave, get in front of it, and hold on to that. But by the early 1970s, the company Samuel built was a mess. It'd grown in every direction at once, too many kinds of stores, too many side businesses, not enough focus, and it was bleeding money. It was close to going under. In 1972, Samuel's son, Alan Wurtzel, took over as CEO, and Alan did something that sounds simple and is actually really hard. He started cutting. He closed and sold the unprofitable pieces, the side businesses, the dead weight, until all that was left was the part that actually worked, selling electronics. He saved the company by subtraction, not by adding some brilliant new idea, by removing everything that wasn't working until only the strong thing was left. Remember that word, subtraction, because it's going to come back at the end of this video, and it's going to come back with a vengeance and in a way you will not expect. So by then it's 1974. Allen opened something new, a 40,000 square foot warehouse style showroom called the Ward's Loading Dock. Massive selection, low prices, and salespeople who actually knew the products and worked on commission, so they were motivated to help you get the right thing. It worked so well, they built more, and in 1977, they put a name on it, and that name was Circuit City. In 1984, the company was renamed Circuit City Stores and listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Samuel was the chairman until that year, and unfortunately, he died in 1985, right as the thing he started was about to become an empire. By 1987, the company was doing $1 billion a year, and through the 80s and 90s, the superstore just printed money. Circuit City became one of the best performing stocks of the entire era. So now you've got the picture. A near-dead company gets saved, turns into a dominant electronics retailer in America, ends up in a book about great companies. It's untouchable, right? No. The next thing you know, it's gone. So what happened? There were 3 moves that actually built Circuit City. And I'm going to walk you through all 3 because you cannot understand the death without them. Then I'm going to show you the 4th move, the one that actually killed it. And here's the part that'll probably make you a little angry by the end. I know, because I've been angry about it for over 20 years, watching the company go away and watching a lot of my great friends lose their jobs and their livelihoods. But the move that killed it was the exact opposite of the moves that built it. Move 1 we've already covered. Samuel in the barber's chair, get in front of the wave, TVs in the 50s, then color TVs, then VCRs. Look it up if you don't know what those are, kids. Then the whole 80s and 90s electronics boom. Circuit City's entire existence was about being where the wave was breaking. Then there's move number 2, Allen's turnaround. When the company was dying, he didn't add, he subtracted down to the one thing that actually worked and then cut everything that wasn't it. Move 3 is the big one, so stay with me. The thing Circuit City actually sold was not television. Best Buy sold televisions, Walmart sold televisions. What Circuit City sold was the superstore experience. And that experience stood on 3 legs. Leg number 1 was selection, everything under one roof. Leg number 2 was price, big enough to buy and cheap enough to pass it on. Leg 3, and this is the one that matters, expertise. The guy in the red shirt who actually knew the difference between the 2 TVs you were standing in front of and could tell you which one you should buy. That 3rd leg is the whole thing. Selection and price, anybody can copy those. Walmart had selection and price. The expertise, the salesperson who actually knows the product, that was the moat. That was the one leg that competition couldn't easily knock out. Now, a 3-legged stool is one of the most stable structures there is, but it has one obvious weakness. You only have to take away one leg. And when you do, the whole thing falls over. So here's what happened. By the early 2000s, Circuit City was under pressure. Best Buy had passed them back in 1996. Online stores were coming and profits were getting squeezed. And the people running the company, Samuel and Allen were long gone from running it by then, went looking for costs to cut. And they looked at that 3rd leg, the expensive one, the experienced commissioned salespeople. On a spreadsheet, those people look like a cost. Then in 2003, they made their first cut. And it wasn't just a pay change. They eliminated commissions and they let go of around 3,900 of their commissioned salespeople. Now think about who that actually is. On commission, the highest paid salespeople are the best salespeople, the only ones who can sell enough to earn real money. So the people they cut weren't the worst ones, they were the best ones. Because being good is exactly what made them expensive. They literally fired their best salespeople for being too good. And the message that sent to everyone left standing, was impossible to miss. Don't be too good. The people who stayed quietly learned to stop being excellent because excellence is what had just gotten thousands of their coworkers and friends walked out the door. And I was there for this one. I worked in the warehouse from 2001 to 2006. I was in the building the day they did it in 2003. And the way that worked was they told us one day that they were opening late and they wouldn't tell us why. And certain people had to be there at certain times and other people had to be there at other times. And when you got there, the doors were locked. And what was going on inside, I would find out later, was the store manager. And by the way, great guy. I don't blame him at all. I learned a lot from Wes. The store manager was having to bring in the commissioned salespeople, the best ones, one at a time, and tell them that they had made too much money for the company and that they were going to be let go. They weren't given an option to take less. They weren't given any opportunity. They were told that they had done the job that they were paid to do so well that they had to be let go because they cost too much. I guess they brought the other ones in as well and offered them a new rate and told them to take it or leave it. But then there was that. And then after that, they finally let us all in and they had a big store meeting of everyone that was left and told us what had happened and the way things were going to work going forward. And I remember one guy is an older guy that worked there in the merchandising department. And I don't remember his name. I want to say it was Ted, but he raised his hand and he asked a question and he said, what happens if a customer comes in looking for a particular person? What do we tell them? And Wes, the store manager, again replies and he says, whatever you see here is who's left of your team. So dozens of people from my one store got let go. Some of my best friends instantly gone in a day, walked out the door like they'd done something wrong when all they had done was make the company gobs of money by being good at what they were paid to do. After that, you could feel the company change from the inside, myself included. The place that used to run on people who knew their stuff started running on whoever was cheapest. And no disrespect to them, they were good people. They just weren't salespeople of the same caliber as some of the people that were let go. And then in 27, they made the smart decision of learning from their mistakes. Just kidding, they fucking did it again, and bigger and even more brazen. On a single morning, March 28th, 2007, Circuit City fired about 3,400 of its most experienced, highest paid people. All at once. Anybody making more than $18 an hour, gone. They walked them out the door and then, and this is the part that's almost hard to believe, they told them they were welcome to reapply for their old jobs at a lower wage. The press release called it a wage manage initiative, and the stock actually went up 2% that day because sometimes capitalism just doesn't make any sense. So look at what they actually did. They found the one leg of the stool that the competition could never copy. And because it was the most expensive leg, they sawed it off themselves. They could not tell the difference between a cost and a moat. On the spreadsheet, the expensive salesperson is a cost, but in reality, the expensive salesperson was the entire reason anyone chose Circuit City over Walmart in the first place. They fired the business and kept the building. And if that makes you a little angry, good. It should. It's been 23 years, and as you can tell by the tone of my voice, it still makes me kind of angry because these people worked hard, they made a lot of money for the company and for themselves, and they got let go of it for it because they had done too good of a job. That's absolutely counterintuitive, and a fucking first grader can tell you that that's a bad business decision, but these corporate executives did it anyway. And here's the thing, this was never really about money they didn't have. Across those same years, this company spent close to $1 billion buying back its own stock and paid its CEO over $1 million in salary and bonus the year of the big firing. The best salespeople weren't the cost they couldn't afford, they were just the cost that was easiest to cut. And here's the callback I promised you. Alan Wurtzel saved this company in the 70s by subtraction, by cutting everything that wasn't the business. 30 years later, a different set of people reached for the exact same tool, cut to save money, except this time, they cut the one thing that actually was the business. Same move, opposite result, because subtraction only works if you know what you're cutting. After that, it was just a matter of time. Customers walked in, couldn't get help, walked out and went to Best Buy or went online. 18 months later, the company was in bankruptcy. A year after that, it was gone. 60 years and $12 billion undone by a decision that looked smart on a spreadsheet. So that's Circuit City, built by getting in front of a wave, saved by cutting to the core, made unbeatable by the one thing that competitors couldn't copy, and then killed by the people who couldn't see that the expensive line on the spreadsheet was the only thing keeping them alive in the first place. If you take one thing from this video, take this. Before you cut a cost, make sure it's not a moat. Some of the most expensive lines on your P&L are the only reason you still have customers. Now, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. A lot of you worked at Circuit City, and I want to hear what that last few years actually felt like from the inside. I left in 2006. Some of my good friends were still there when they closed, and I'd love to hear from some other people as well. If you want to hear more about the rise and fall of Circuit City, check out Michael Girdley's video that's on your screen right now. It's a great, super in-depth video from a great channel. You're going to love it. And I'll see you in the next video, and most of all, think big.